Any of the craft brewing dry hopping techniques, it's really very difficult to ensure that everything is totally clean. Yes, hop pellets do have sometimes some form of microbiological contamination in it, but dry hopping as a rule, it does not challenge the integrity of a beer. So the important thing is that we are able to dry hop right from the ground floor to the top of those vessels. Yeah, it's really something else. We can also dry hop directly at the top. Not only can we dry hop, we can put flavors in. We can put even fruit or vegetable and anything that you could imagine and keep it sterile. Our dry hop system is CIP, but cleaning in place systems are designed for it as well, and it can be sterilized by steam. This is our centrifuge. All of our products currently are separated through this centrifuge. It exerts a force of about 5,000 G on each cell or any particle in that beer. So you can make beer that's crystal clear. It's also managed by clarity. It's a turbidity system that measures the clarity of the beer. What's so good about this kind of technology is that in normal filtration systems, or most common filtration systems, you have a lot of residue of filter media to get rid of. Filter media is not biodegradable. With this centrifuge system, everything that comes as a residue is biodegradable. So that's one of the reasons that we portray us being friendly to the environment. This piece of equipment does that. This automatic carbonator measures by fuzzy logic all the CO2 that you're putting into the supply of beer. And it's ultra precise in that you can't carbonate a tank as accurately as this by manual means. It runs the average values as the centrifuge sends it liquid. And as I said, it uses fuzzy logic to adjust up or down continuously. It's really wonderful to watch the valve modulating as it tries to match what really the target CO carbonation is.
Well, what you guys rise to the top there?
You're exactly 50 steps up to this top. And it's worthwhile to see it from this view, because you'll see that even the tops of the tanks are ultra clean. Right here we have dedicated foaming stations, so we can keep these tanks not just on the interior with the in place cleaning system, but on the exterior the foaming system works very well to keep the plants completely sanitary. Most of these valves are controlled by software by that same centralized system that we have. So even the fermentation rates and the top pressures on these tanks are electronically controlled. So it's not simple.
No.
And it makes it unique. And we can offer this kind of quality to our products. We're really proud to make all the beers that we have.
But do you have a particular favorite?
Actually, I like all of them. All of them. Why? Because it depends on what I'm doing, what I'm eating, what mood I'm in. Obviously, at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's different than 8 o'clock at night. I mean, at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's different than 8 o'clock at night.
Email works way up to the
So it depends. Okay, so this is it. All the tank tops are accessible.
Some of the Let's try the beers. Horace is here. I'll give you a little background on some of the beers. Again, the worst, believe it or not, some trials and tribulations of getting this beautiful facility put together. When we first announced that we wanted to build a new brew house, as you drove into town, you noticed we are in the middle of town, literally in the middle of town, and sometimes that creates some problems. We're very good neighbors. We are a very great steward of the little stream that goes beside us. We're a very good steward of noise, lights, odors. We do have lights, we do have noise, and we do have odors. We're a brewing facility, but we have met every federal and state guideline probably twice to prove that we are doing what we need to be a good neighbor. Even with all that in place and 200 and some employees and telling we're going to add on at least 10 new employees with a new brew house, there was some resistance. When we went to get our building permit, we were initially told no. Like, how can you not want this in the community? And there was a pocket of citizens that know of the noise and the lights, and their first reaction was, well, if they're gonna build, make them move out of town to build. We do have 2 warehouses that are north of town. Well, we're on the home place of Cold Spring Brewery. It's been here from 1874. We kind of like to stay down here. Plus, we have a packaging facility that we do 25 million cases of product in a year. We're running 6 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's kind of hard just to stop and pick up and move. But that was the consensus. Well, then kind of kick them out of town, and we finally came back and said, oh, okay, it sounds like we're not going to get a permit. I guess we will move out of town. But we're going to Monticello. We're going to somewhere a lot closer to cities than I-94. And I think some of the business people in town got behind us and said, just wait, people. They're going to build a state-of-the-art facility. They're going to build a hospitality room. They have 200 employees. Why would we not let them do what they need to do? And then eventually we did get our building permit and started our year process of building the facility. But again, that leads back to some of the names of our beers. We wanted a black IPA, we wanted a cream ale, and we wanted a brown ale. And Horace helped us decide on those were the right styles, and we wanted names to connect with the process that we went to. So we tried to be creative. Branding is so important in the brewing business. You could do great beer, you can have great beers, but you still there's that consumer out there who has to want to drink your beers. And we thought stories behind our beer that's just the natural thing to do. We're not marketing experts, but we drink beer and are interested in beers and how they got the name. So let's do it that way. So we started with the black IPA. Of course, we did have some problems getting the citizens were not really appreciative of us building another facility, but we did win. And so we decided maybe we should celebrate, let's call it Bitter Neighbor, because we did win. But we do love our neighbors. So I want to make that very clear that we have reconciled with our neighbors and once they figured out what we're doing. But we market it as we've all had a bitter neighbor. But that's a little bit twist out on that story. But another part of the process is during like the 11th hour, okay, we've got our permit. I think there is still some hope that maybe they could force us out of town and get out of town. And one of the comments came back that we had the creek beside us used to have trout in it. And they said, you can't let them build, they killed all the trout. And we're going, all right, I'm not sure that that's maybe true. There may have been trout in there. Well, 100 years there used to be trout in there. Okay, well maybe we had a little bit to do with it, but how about all the people upstream that are throwing fertilizer on their yards and the tires in their creek, and maybe that had something to do with it. So we, which we are, by the way, very good stewards of our creek. If you look outside, you'll notice what we fondly call the rain garden. We put a section in so when there's runoff from our asphalt parking lot, it gets absorbed into the rainforest and does not run off into the stream. So we are very, very good stewards of our stream. But we knew we wanted a brown ale, and we think maybe those were brown trout in there. We're not 100% sure. So we thought maybe dead trout or something with that kind of style. And I don't think that's going to be real attractive to you as a beer consumer. Let's call it lost trout. That we know they were there, apparently, and we know we can't find them, so they're out there lost. So we call it the lost trout, and we'll probably never find them. But we use that as a logo to put a forlorn-looking trout on a milk carton. And, so that's the lost trout. And our third year-round beer that we came up with, which you'll try, is our Rise to the Top Cream Ale. We wanted a cream ale because it kind of differentiated ourselves a little bit. We also have a brewery over in Wisconsin that says they're never going to come here, and they have quite a successful cream ale that's called Spotted Cow. And we think our palates are not that much different than our Wisconsinite neighbors. And since they're not coming here, let's develop something that's going to be similar to Spotted Cow, but not the same as, more of a cousin rather than a brother sister. And so Horace developed a recipe that we think is, it's better than the other cream ales are out of, because the recipe he uses creates a very crisp and clean and a taste to it's not so sweet, where some of the other cream ales are a little bit sweet. So we needed a name, and we knew cream rises to the top, even though the beer has nothing to do with dairy or cream, but we had to more or less educate people on that beer. So cream, as you know, all of us learned probably somewhere between 3rd and 8th grade, cream rises to the top. And that's a saying that's out there that's been around for a while, and that's a way for us to celebrate that way. It is a unique beer. It is a cream ale, and we as a company are starting to rise to the top. And we thought we would tie that in together with that beer. So that's our three main beers. We've also had and started the seasonal process. And you've got to remember, our first beer only came out July 1st. Mm-hmm. So actually we're a new brewery, but we're an old brewery. So there's that contradiction again. Street, not a street, old brewery, new brewery. We kind of like to work with those contradictory type things. So our first seasonal beer, we wanted to try to be different. Everybody does pumpkin ales, and we wanted a fall beer because we wanted that beer not to be end in October. We want to make it last a little bit longer. So Horace developed a beer that was very sessionable. We used a pumpkin carving, but we like to call it our jack-o'-lantern, so we called it Jacked Up, because it had to be related to the fall. And we took that face of that jack-o'-lantern and tried to do this big grin on it, saying kind of a little deviant look that we are jacking up your beer. And this year we're jacking it up with these certain spices. We like to call them the pumpkin spices. So that's when we do beers, we want stories behind it, and there's a reason that we're calling them something. So that was our Jacked Up Autumn Ale. The next beer, and Horace will talk about a little bit probably in his tour that he gives, is the Sugar Shack Maple Stout, our next seasonal beer. And again, we want to differentiate ourselves. Just to do another stout would be that's way too easy. We don't like things that easy. And we wanted to add something to it that is really close to home, that will get people in Minnesota excited about the beer. We, not different than New Glarus, will probably try to keep our beers only in Minnesota, or they'll keep their beers in Wisconsin. So that seems to work for them. We're going to work on that type of concept. So we've been working with the monks from St. John's actually for years, where they produce maple syrup at their arboretum, and you can't buy it. If you're a volunteer or a member, they occasionally will give you a small bottle, or if you go and visit them, most of the syrup is kept for the monks for them to consume at their abbey. So we've had volunteers who have gone out and worked with the arboretum and started asking, can we get some of your maple syrup? And of course the answer was, well, no, we don't sell it. We use it for consumption for our monks. And of course when someone tells us no, that means, well, then now we got to have it. We don't like to hear that. So we started the process of contacting people at St. John's, which is less than 12 miles away from us, a beautiful university. And we went through the process. Okay, can we get some of your maple syrup? And sometimes when you get involved with organizations, you don't know where to start out at. And we went through a process of lots of emails and contacts and trying to get that okay to do it. And finally got the head person at the Abbey through a friend of ours who knew him, went to dinner with him and say, hey, I know Third Street Brewhouse has been trying to do something to get your maple syrup. And we had that connection, and within a week we had one of the brothers calling us and I heard you guys wanted to get some of our maple syrup. We go, yeah, we want to. And so we did an agreement with the St. John's Abbey and Arboretum to do a stout beer with maple syrup. We have the exclusive rights to that syrup, so no one else in the world can make a maple stout using that syrup that is done at the St. John's Arboretum. And of course developed, as you'll hear him talk about, we went through many iterations to get the perfect stout to match with that maple syrup, and we call it the Sugar Shack. The Sugar Shack is, if you do a little history on maple syrup, is where they take the sap into a building and refine that sap down to get the syrup. So we thought, well, that's kind of a cool name. They've got a little building out there that's called the Sugar Shack. So in part of our agreement, we had to use that in promotional and branding. We had to give them, of course, the ability to see what we're doing to make sure we're not too edgy, of course, with what we do. And we sent them, we want to call it the Sugar Shack, and here's what we want it to look like. And they've given us immediate approval to do that brand, which will be released probably by the time this video is shown. It'll already be on the market. We have had a wonderful problem happening with that. We didn't run enough beer. And we produced 150 barrels and it's all sold. And so we quickly realized that and are brewing another 300 barrels to get into the market early January. So it's one of those little surprises again that we come upon, like, oh, it's not enough beer? Because if you knew us a year from now, previously we didn't have any beer in the market. We were going, please, 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 will someone just take our keg? Maybe just one, and we'll try to do it really, really good this time and to make sure it's consistent. And we were nowhere in the market. If you go to the market now in central Minnesota, our beer will be on tap on over 50 bars and restaurants in central Minnesota, some in the Twin Cities, and we're just starting to work the outer bounds of Minnesota. So it's really been, again, a day and night. Year ago, nothing. Now we're at this point where we have people complaining about not getting our beer. So that it's really turned around. It's like, we're not used to that. You know, we all sit in our marketing meeting and go, oh, we didn't do enough beer? Oh, I didn't even know how much we're going to sell. So I think things are going well for us. Sometimes we're so busy, it's hard for us to sit back and really revel in what has been accomplished. But yeah, it's been a great last 6 months, we think. But we got this another 6 months coming up that we need to get ready for, so we can bring our brewers together and create the next fun, interesting thing for the consumers.
Definitely.
We could talk about beer all day.
So,
They're coming to them all.
There you go.
So Horace will talk about the beers maybe real quickly. I'll forward if you want to talk about the beers.
okay, so this is your cream ale. So
It's
now,
our cream ale,
this
right?
is kind of a different. There's not too many people that make cream ales in Minnesota, or actually even in the nation.
Yeah, it's a hybrid ale.
Yes, it is.
It is, and it's a wonderful ale because it's a refresher. What we try to do is create a different style to be sessionable, yet have a perspective for that I can have more of it and enjoy it, and it's different. So that's why even from the start, it was like an introduction to the person who doesn't really understand craft brewing or craft beers. We decided to create this new style. As you can see, there's a sharpness to it, which allows you to say, another sip.
It leaves a good Brussels lace
Right.
coming down off of the tube.
That's one of the positive advantages of centrifugation. Centrifugation does not destroy that kind of lacing. Even though filtration is used, it also filtration tends to remove certain flavors you want to keep. So there are some major growth paths when we're coming through this centrifugation process. so versatile, and you can just push in numbers and it will give you what you want.
That's delicious. This is still my favorite beer of the year.
Thank you.
This one will be a regular throughout the summer.
Oh, that's good to hear. And now we have our Lost Stroke Brown Ale. As you can see, it has a significant head. All of our beers come with some version of head, even if the color is different from one to the other. This one gives you flavors of coffee and chocolate coming through. And yet, it does not have infusions of chocolate and coffee.
And it is not heavy like a porter or stout, so you kind of get that nice balance of, this is a light beer, but it still comes packed with flavor.
Right. What's so good about this as well is that it's an easy beer to serve with a meal, different kinds of meal, even from vegetarian all the way to a person who really is a heavy meat consumer. So all of our beers were thought of from the point of view of not just analytically correct, but what the consumer will say. Hey, I want to be devoted to you. Let me have your beer. Let's do this. So all of our beers have been tasted, pre-tested, not just, as I said, analytically, but consumed.
We're going to jump to the Sugar Shack.
Okay, this is the beer I have been waiting for. When I saw you guys post this on Facebook, I about fell out of my chair.
Right. Smell that beer.
Wow.
Isn't that real?
That's the Monk's Maple Syrup.
That's the
right
Monk's
there, huh?
Maple Syrup. We're coming on the market together. The
That's
Monks and us. One good thing about Third Street is that we're trying to grow the community alongside us. We are great partners. We are working to have our greatest enthusiasm right here at home. And as a result, we are even going to be starting a brew school here. And we do have, as you can say, a wonderful tasting room. People can just walk in or bring in their groups and have a great time here. So, yes,
Look for that on Facebook.
What's that?
Look for the brew school will be promoted on Facebook. In December, we will have it.
I mentioned before as you warm this, unfortunately you don't have enough time to really do that. But
But it does change.
It does
I was cupping it in my hands here, trying to warm it up as fast as I can, and I've noticed a change from my first sip to the second.
Yeah. And that's the good thing, in the...
I'm going to set this one aside and drink the rest of it and come back to this one.
All right.
And Bitter Neighbor Black IPA.
No, our blog on Beerploma did a nice little thing on Black IPAs after Chimney Sweep came out.
Oh, very good. The point is that our Black IPA is not aggressive in its hop note as regards
got a citrusy
numbers.
smell to it.
It does have a citrusy smell. The point is that we try to be real. It's not just a number. What does a number mean to the customer? It's really what hits their palate and whether they'd have more of it. Many of the IPAs that I've had in my experience are hard to drink to the last sip. They take some time. This one is more refreshing than traditional black IPA.
This is very good. Yeah, this is probably the best Black IPA I've ever had.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, that's great to hear that. And we are working hard to keep you. You're a customer. We're customers. We have to be happy. Come on, let's keep this coming.
You are lucky you're here today because we have the last keg
Of
that's
Jack
jacked up. So you'll probably be the last people to get to taste it before next year.
Very
When I'm telling you how we're jacking up next year, I can tell you
You gonna
how
change it up a little
jacked
bit?
up this is.
This here. As you can see, the colors are rich. The clarity is pure.
I like how, we got to actually sample this one before you guys came in, but I like how you get the pumpkin smell to it. It overpowers the smell, but not the taste of the beer. It's a compliment to the beer, but it really has that nice aroma to bring in the pumpkin people.
Yes, we were thinking that, hey, even with the pumpkin pie, you'd love it. So that's the reality. It really is pleasing. We could have actually done a lot more for that market. Next year,
We did
we're
just
really
75 barrels. We're new. That was our first seasonal. We'll be better prepared next year to keep.
Most people run Oktoberfest. Hey, a very tight market. Oktoberfest have gone pretty strange in that, hey, Oktoberfest, come out in July? That's crazy. So we really wanted to create something that people could say, oh, I'm going to be enough of this Oktoberfest, I can do an autumn ale. So that's
And
how we
celebrate the season, so even as you went through the Thanksgiving holiday, this was a beer that you could enjoy at your Thanksgiving table.
Now I'm getting a maple flavored cereal out of this. This is amazing. This has got my endorsement. So,
I like the color of this one. Just a
Is
very
it gorgeous?
yeah.
I'm gonna my next blog post. This is gonna be my feature. So this is a work of art.
It is not. You know, some people, oh, when you serve it cold, hey, it's topped. Does it end that? Yeah, but keep going.
It even smells a little different after it warms up.
Yeah, I mean the maple syrup really comes out on it. So that was very good. Well, guys, we got to wrap it up here, but thank you very much
Coming in?
for
Appreciate it.
so,
Look forward to seeing the